Dans quelques instants, je vais introduire Mme Clément Bernadette, notre chère candidate. Alors, Bernadette, c'est à toi la parole et nous sommes très fiers de toi.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hello, everybody. Hello. Is everybody well? Yes. Good. I love this kind of turnout. It's wonderful. And I just saw a little girl in a pink sweater wearing my button. That's so lovely. Ça me fait chaud au cœur voir ça. Thank you for wearing my button. So, it is a very, very good day, and I'm very honored to have Mr. Bob Rae with us in the riding of SDSG. I think you've probably heard in the media, and I've been talking about this every day, because every day I go door knocking, and every day the number one issue at the doors is healthcare. Alors à chaque porte, presque à chaque porte, dans tous les coins de la circonscription, la grosse question, c'est la question de la santé. Now, other issues come up, of course, democracy, jobs, economy, but healthcare is the one that comes up from one end of the riding to the other, from one end of the age spectrum to the other. So that's been very interesting. We are very fortunate. We have good hospitals in our community, good community hospitals, and people feel very strongly about their hospitals, and we've had very successful fundraising campaigns. But we also know that we have trouble recruiting doctors. We also know that this riding is 50-50 rural and urban, and so there are challenges recruiting in Cornwall, but also in the rural areas. We also have wait times that people talk to me about all the time. And we know, too, that a lot of people in this area have to travel to Ottawa to get health care. And those are concerns that keep coming up over and over again. So I think it's important, and I think it's very interesting to have Mr. Bob Rae come to talk to us about that. We had an earlier press conference on the bridge issue, another issue that, a local issue that needs to be resolved. But we want to talk to you about health care today. Mr. Bob Rae is on his 11th campaign. Alors, oui. Alors, c'est quelqu'un avec beaucoup d'expérience. C'est un vrai privilège pour nous de l'avoir avec nous. Il s'exprime en anglais-français, il peut répondre à des questions, mais il va nous parler un peu et nous adresser la parole. Alors, please welcome Mr. Bob Rae.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much, Bernadette. Take this off here so I can. If I can, I'd like to be freer to roll here. Can you help me with this? Let's see. Oh, here it is. We just do this. There we are. Magique. Merci beaucoup, tout le monde. Thank you so much, and let me thank you for the standing ovation. It's not often I get. It's not often I get one before saying anything, and I really do appreciate it. I remember well the Maple Leaf dinner that I came to not too long ago, and it was a great pleasure to be here then. We raised a bit of money and got a bit of focus and attention, and it was great to talk to a great many Liberal friends, and it's wonderful to talk to all of you today. I know that you've been out knocking on doors and putting up signs and raising money and raising issues, and it's wonderful to be here. As Bernadette was introducing me, saying this is my 11th election, Arlene, who has had the misfortune of being married to me for over 30 years, said it's my 11th campaign as well. So, you know, I don't always agree with Stockwell Day, but the other day when he was announcing his retirement in the House, he said, you know, I haven't always been the perfect husband, but I have the perfect marriage. And I think every man in the room knows what that's all about. So I can just tell you that Arlene has just is a fantastic campaigner. The one people say to me, you know, you seem to travel so much during the campaigns, and you know, what about your own riding? And well, usually Arlene lets me travel alone, but she wanted to come up to Ottawa for a couple of days, so we've been traveling together, which has been a lot of fun. But usually Arlene is in charge of just, you know, campaigning in the riding when I'm going outside. And that explains why we do so well. That I'm not really, they're not voting for me, they're voting for her. Je veux vous parler sérieusement, pas tellement sérieusement, mais je vais vous parler directement des questions les plus importantes, les 2 dernières semaines de la campagne, parce que c'est le moment de décision, c'est le moment de vérité, parce que c'est le moment de décision de la part de beaucoup de monde qui ont parlé, qui sont peut-être, qui vont quelque part, mais ils ne sont pas complètement certains de comment ils veulent voter. Et je pense que dans cette circonscription, on a la chance de faire trois arguments très clairs. Et je pense que c'est le moment de le faire. D'abord, on a la meilleure candidate. Il n'y a pas question de ça. Nous avons une question de caractère du gouvernement qui présente. Le gouvernement de M. Harper, c'est un gouvernement non seulement de droite, mais c'est un gouvernement franchement, d'une autocratie, d'un contrôle qu'on n'a jamais vu dans le gouvernement de notre pays. Jamais dans notre expérience, on a eu un gouvernement qui, franchement, n'est pas prêt à jouer démocratiquement avec la population canadienne. Et ça, c'est une question importante. C'est ce que je nomme la question du caractère de ce gouvernement. Mais la troisième question, c'est les politiques des partis. Où sont-ils sur les questions les plus importantes? So, you know, we have 3 arguments, it seems to me, on the doorstep in the last 2 weeks, this moment of decision that people have. The first argument is very simple, and Bernadette is being very, very modest, but we have an outstanding candidate in this riding. Outstanding candidate. What in the Bible we refer to as a woman of valor, because she's someone who represents so well the greatness of our country, who cares about working families, and who doesn't just give speeches about it. It's how she has lived her life, how she's dedicated herself as a lawyer. And I know that there are many people in the room, and certainly in the wider district, who might have a certain skeptical view about lawyers. And there are a lot of lawyer jokes, but I'm certain there are no lawyer jokes about Bernadette, because she's somebody who genuinely is serving the public interest in the work that she's doing for legal aid and in her advocacy on behalf of families. And so it is a source of pride for any riding to have a candidate like Bernadette. You can go to the door, you can speak with confidence. And whenever somebody says, I'm not quite sure what you're going to say, when you say, well, let me tell you about our candidate. Because there are a lot of people who want to know about the candidate. She's just terrific. And I think the fact that she's topped the polls in the municipal election gives everybody a sense of the kind of support that's out there in the community for Bernadette. And this is very important in this riding. I don't know, some of you may remember the name George Samus. Well, George was a dear friend of mine, as I'm sure he was to at least some of you in this room. And I hesitate to, of course, mention my former political affiliation. But somebody said to me, well, how did a new Democrat win in Cornwall? I said, well, it's George Samus. They voted for George. Liberals voted for George. Conservatives voted for George. All sorts of people voted for George Samus because he's a very dedicated guy. He cared about the community. Everybody knew he cared about the community, and he responded to people. This is what we have in Bernadette. Somebody who can bring voters from other parties. Somebody who can bring people in who haven't been voting before because of the kind of personal credibility that she brings to the campaign. And that is extremely important. It's a huge plus for the campaign. And I'm very proud to be on the same platform with Bernadette and delighted to be here today in the very balmy Cornwall morning. As we were outside talking to the media about some of the critical issues facing the community. The second big issue on the doorstep, I think, still has to be the character of the Harper government. You know, we're the only country, I think, whose prime minister is currently enrolled in a witness protection program. We don't see him much outside of the public. He doesn't get out and mingle with the population a great deal. He's always removed from us. He doesn't like to talk. Did you notice during the debates how he could not make eye contact with either anybody else? The 3 other leaders were there. They're all talking to each other in a normal way. I'm talking to you. Look at you. I look at you. I look at you. He couldn't. He could just look at the camera. Well, it would be a little strange if I talked to all of you as if I was just looking at the camera. But he prefers to talk to the camera than he does prefer to talk to people.
Because he gets no rebuttal.
Well, that's right. He gets no because he gets no answer from the camera. The camera can't talk back. The camera can't ask questions. The camera can't express a point of view. I'm going to take you to every meeting with me. I want you to come with me. There's another woman of valor. Well, now she's learned.
The way that the government is being run today by Harper, I prefer to vote Liberal due to the fact that they may actually go forward with what we need to do today.
Well, you've just given me the greatest transition point to my next point, so I want to thank you for that. And none of this was planned, I can tell you. But this character question is there. The third issue is the issue of programs and policies. And we face a real challenge in this country because Bernadette's mentioned healthcare. I'm going to come to it in a minute, but there are a number of things where we have to look to see what can government do to be helpful to people. What can government do that will help make a difference in their lives?